Though KillDisk Desktop doesn't need much to function as a disk sanitation workstation, you wouldn't be doing it justice without taking a look at the graphical user interface. In this video, I'll be demonstrating KillDisk Desktop's workstation configuration. I'll be navigating through the application with a standard mouse, keyboard, and monitor. Once the system is hooked up, we're ready to start using the workstation. Let's start by powering it on. Before the system boots into the KillDisk environment, notice that there's a KillDisk boot menu allowing us to select the option to restore to factory defaults. In case anything goes wrong with the system, quick and easy disaster recovery is readily available through this feature. But in this case, we won't touch anything and let the station boot as normal. Once KillDisk Desktop has finally booted, we see the main KillDisk interface. Let's do a quick walkthrough. But before that, let's connect 5 disks to the disk bays. First, we have our menu toolbar at the top of the application. Under File, we have a list of general application options. We can save our hardware configuration, commonly used in debugging scenarios with our support staff. You can also save your log to a file, configure your printer, network time zone, and application preferences, and shut down the application and shut off the machine. We'll get back to the preferences in a bit. Next, we have our view option. We have several views we can enable, such as Disk Explorer or Application Log. We can also access any views that are currently active. Under Actions, we have our basic KillDisk actions, which we can see mirrored in the contextual toolbar below. Tools let us launch a number of helpful features such as a smart monitor, file manager, web browser, Linux terminal, simple text editor, or screenshot application. Windows lets us access any opened windows. Finally, the Help menu gives us access to the documentation, It lets us check for updates, and it lets us check for details about the application such as licensee, software version, and more. Below the menu bar, we see our context toolbar. It changes depending on the applications in the main view. The main view is where most of the important application information is shown. It shows the current view. This could be the Disk Explorer, Hex Viewer, or any of the KillDisk Desktop views. The view generally found at the bottom is the application output. Now that we're acquainted, let's take a look at the advanced settings for KillDisk Desktop. These may be set with the GUI interface and will persist even if the station is operating in its basic mode without the monitor or other peripherals. First, we have our general settings. These settings mainly pertain to the GUI look and feel options, fonts, sizes, buttons. Here you can tweak the application to feel just right for you. Next, we have our station preferences. Here we can set the password to our KillDisk workstation, automation options, and configuration options. Next, we have our erase settings, where we can configure the sanitation procedure to meet our specific standards and workflow. We can choose our default disk erase method, advanced erase features, and XML report settings. Similarly, we can configure our disk examination settings, choosing how to perform the examination and how we want the XML report to look like. Next, we can customize our disk erasure certificate with our company information, logo, and more. We can also configure KillDisk Desktop to print labels for our erased disks with a variety of templates and the ability to create custom templates to meet any label style. Finally, we can even configure the error handling for KillDisk for cases where the application encounters read-write errors. With our preferences set, we can start erasing disks. Let's start by inserting some hard drives in the disk bays. The system supports both 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch SATA drives. We can also work with USB and eSATA connected devices. To operate on them, simply select Show Removable Devices in the Settings options. Suppose I suspect my disk in Bay 1 has bad sectors. I can now select that disk in the Disk Explorer and perform the examine operation on it. KillDisk Desktop will let me adjust some general examination settings, and I can launch the operation on that disk. Now suppose the disks in Bay 2 and 3 need to be erased. I can select them either individually or erase them as a batch. This allows me to have both disks on the same erase certificate with the same erase parameters and comments. Suppose I'm not sure if this USB has important data on it prior to erasing it. We can browse the device using the File Explorer to make sure. When I'm ready, I can set it to erase as well. If I have a printer configured with the system, I can have erase certificates and labels printed automatically. This covers the main features of KillDisk Desktop's workstation configuration. To learn more about KillDisk Desktop, be sure to check out our other videos.